Oh,
was it just him in his little uniform?
You have made me appreciate Kermit. I mean, I always liked Kermit. He's a little different than just like the main character syndrome that so many of them have, because he does have like a personality.
Yeah.
And he is Steve Whitmer. That was it, right?
I think so.
Whitmire. He was so good. What they did to him was not.
Oh, they like just like hard. Yeah.
He made Kermit too. He like was Kermit for like 30 years. This was like peak him.
Yeah.
And he had like a great deal of creative control. And then when they like unceremoniously fired him, I think it was like Disney, I'm not entirely sure, but they were like, you made Kermit into like a sad sap.
He's kind of a sad sap.
I was like, that's the part that I like about him.
Okay.
Hello, everybody. I'm Will.
And I'm Kristen.
And I'm Rachel.
And welcome to So I'm Watching This Show, your new favorite pop culture YouTube channel where we talk about movies, TV, music, and more. And as always, this is a spoiler show, so you have been warned. Happy Thanksgiving!
Yay! Happy Thanksgiving!
This is our...
American Thanksgiving.
Sure. So this is our 5th annual Muppets Thanksgiving special. The short version of it is Muppets were always kind of a holiday thing for me. And so I implanted that on them, and they are coming along willingly.
You mostly implanted it on me. Rachel has also come by it, honestly.
So the Muppets are a quasi-holiday thing for a lot of people because of Muppet Christmas Carol. You can see their episode from last year. Yeah. I was never fond of it for those reasons.
It's my favorite.
It was really good.
Yeah. I never liked the story, the Christmas Carol. When I was little, it scared me because of the ghosts. So it just never really was my thing. And also my favorite was always A Muppet Family Christmas, which is not the same. And that caused me lots of grief growing up.
Oh, yeah.
I buy it.
So on today's episode, we're going to have a conversation about 1996's Muppet Treasure Island.
Get the treasure! Let's torture the rat! No more, Miss Nice Guy! Cool!
Muppet Treasure Island.
I'm starting to worry about this voyage.
This was first time for you, so we'll get to
me.
you in a second. Did you have any history with this movie?
Just growing up, Muppets were on at our house. I don't really remember how it started. It just was. So Muppets Take Manhattan was my first Muppets movie that I loved, and a large tenet of my personality is because of Miss Piggy. The other part is Buffy.
Which is that Venn diagram is a lot closer to being a perfect circle than one would think.
Yes, it is much more like that.
There's a lot of karate chopping and girly clothes.
Clothes and hair,
Just a lot of deep feminine rage as instructed by the patriarchy. It's great. But no, anytime that a new Muppet movie came out, I mean, we watched it, we bought it, we had it, and this one was just, I think, probably my mom's favorite. I think, but don't quote me on that. But it was great. I love it.
So I was a Muppet fiend, and as such, my family really took to it. I loved as a child the original Muppet Show and Muppet Babies. That also caused me a lot of grief growing up.
I like Muppet Babies.
Yeah, but anytime I was like in middle school or elementary school, like a 4th grade, and I'd say I love the Muppets, and people were like, you like Muppet Babies? So
yeah, and then that's when you go, yeah, as I punch this.
I don't know. I feel like all of us in this room were watching like Arthur and the big comfy couch, like well into middle school.
Well into high school. I was watching Arthur.
Well into high school. So
Arthur was a little different.
Arthur's a little bit. Recess. I watched Recess.
Oh, yeah,
I watched
absolutely.
Recess in college if my classes were arranged the right way.
It's a good show.
It's a great show.
Yeah.
So we loved the Muppets. We had all of the original movies. We had any of the VHS specials and stuff. And so this one was the first one. I do remember seeing Christmas Carol in theaters, but again, it scared me. I didn't really like it, so I don't have that fondness for it. This was the first one. I was 11 years old, so I can remember the trailer. I can remember the movie premiere. I can remember the soundtrack, all that stuff. I loved it. I was weirdly obsessed with it. This was my first time revisiting it in ages.
Blows my mind.
Ages. I don't know. Somewhere I got it in my head. You know, sometimes I'm weirdly susceptible to flippant comments people make,
Yeah.
and I like strike it into stone.
It's like opposite peer pressure, where someone is just making an offhand comment and you're like, gospel.
I think it was when the 2011 Muppets came out, and it was very OG recipe, like let's put on a show and save the theater.
Okay.
Mhm.
And I think in a review or something, someone made a derogatory comment to like they lost where they lost direction in the 90s and were trying too many gimmicky things. And so I think I kind of put it in this like category. I was like, well, I liked it when I was a kid, but I've grown out of it. So I was really excited to revisit it. And I largely, 80% of the nostalgia is still there.
I liked it. I don't think it's my favorite. I really liked it. I think the thing I like the best is similar to the thing I like the best about A Muppet Christmas Carol, which is that the human person just loved being in this movie so much. Like, there was a quote from Tim Curry. He'd been a huge fan of the Muppets for years before doing this movie. He has stated in many interviews that he regards Captain Long John Silver as one of his favorite roles.
I love that.
He's fantastic.
That is hilarious. I love, and like, it's very similar to the Michael Caine thing where he was like, I will do this if we treat it seriously. And Jim and Brian Henson were like, well, that's the only way it will work.
Yeah.
Well, and the Muppets allow actors, like creative types, to go back to a very childhood place of theater and storytelling. The let's put on a big show and the self-referential. I guess it's the burlesque or the vaudeville of the Muppets. And so it's like you get to play, like 1990s Tim Curry gets to play a very specific type of, it's almost a bygone version of like Pirates.
Yeah.
It's like very rooted in theater and like...
It's like a Pirates of Penzance kind of thing.
I mean, and he is playing it to the cheap seats. I mean, that laugh,
but
holy
it's
crap.
such a good, it's so good. It's such a good performance. So like, while the movie overall was maybe not my favorite, I think out of the ones that we have covered on purpose on this show, I think The Great Muppet Caper is still my favorite. But I still really, really liked it. And especially like that opening number.
To finish up the Tim Curry, I think that it allows you to do sort of like an old-timey thing, but also the Muppet mayhem of it all, the absurdity, allows you to also, it's like somehow letting you do something classic, but also like weird, or you can play.
You're
like,
having
fun.
It's taking it back to playing pretend. So,
It's
I mean,
what I would imagine theater camp feels like.
Yeah. And even practicing in your bedroom in front of your stuffed animal audience. And, you know, they're not really giving it to you, but they're giving it to you. So you're giving it back.
And the meta layers, like Muppets were doing meta before that was a thing. Because it's like built into every Muppet movie is that let's put on a show vibe. And I love the dichotomy. I love the juxtaposition between usually the humans and the off-brand puppets that are usually in an incredibly serious, straightforward adaptation. And then the Muppets are in that adaptation as well, but also can break.
Yeah.
And like they break the fourth wall. They play, and Gonzo and Rizzo, especially with their Greek chorus routine at this point.
I think that's also the reason why it feels like theater camp or like a theater troupe or something, is because all of the same Muppets are in every single one. They just are playing different parts. And so it feels very like, almost even like a traveling
High School Musical.
troubadour.
Or
yeah. Where you just
like,
well, let's put on this one this time.
Well, so like the bad guy pirates in this one were the ones trying to sell Scrooge's death blankets.
Oh, yeah.
And Christmas Carol. Yeah. So like usually like the rougher looking ones always tend to play like a little bit more like a rougher characters, but like
there's tiers. Yeah. The Muppet hierarchy.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
This was apparently also the first time that Sam the Eagle was like a starring role in it.
Okay,
and I like Sam the Eagle.
He's very funny in this one. The fact that he regards Captain Smollett in such high regard, and he thinks that he's so hard. And because of the first 5 minutes, Kermit, Captain Smollett, kind of keeps being like, I didn't say that.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't tell you to do that. I think it's so funny. And the fact that, because of course Jim Henson well-known socialist.
Yeah,
I think his personification of America is just through Sam the Eagle.
sure.
It just sort of that we rooted him in that like kind of overbearing authoritarianism.
Yeah.
And the ways in which he grows and softens, but also hardens.
Yeah.
I don't know. I find it very funny.
He, for me, is sort of like Twin Cities with Uncle Deadly. They are kind of like...
So Uncle Deadly is one of my favorites. He is an old puppet, but he actually doesn't start getting material until more recently, considering how old he is. It's like, I think the 2011 is the first time that he's like a main role.
I love his wispy feathers.
And the instinct to pair him with Piggy.
My God.
That they do a lot. Going back broad about this, watching this now as an adult, I think the issue for it, if there is an issue or if there is something that you don't love, I think there are elements where it becomes too much Treasure Island.
Yes. Yeah. And also, I'm not like wild about swashbuckling stories and stuff. And like, it's a very also male focused book and story and everything, which I don't hate because there are only a handful of Lady Muppets anyway. And so it suits that in the same way that Christmas Carol does. But I do wish that it was a little more, because even I feel like even A Muppet's Christmas Carol was a little sillier than this. This was like a very straightforward coming of age with like Muppet jokes sprinkled in it.
I definitely appreciate that. And it's one of those things where it's like, in one hand, we could complain that, or we could critique that it's taking the Treasure Island part too seriously. And on the other hand, if it didn't, we could complain that it's too silly and needed to be more of that.
Right.
Well, I also have no real experience with Treasure Island, so I don't even have like a nostalgia for that like I do for A Christmas Carol. So I just don't really... Nothing about this going into it was going to be my favorite, except for Tim Curry and Kermie in his little Captain's uniform.
And he had a couple of costume changes. I love his pirate blouse with his Miss Piggy tattoo.
Okay.
And the sword fighting.
Yeah.
That is so funny.
So funny. I love how it was like in stages, but very quickly at the end, all of their outfits devolved into the white pirate shirt.
Is there a joke other than just that it's silly?
It's probably just silly.
Because I, on a subconscious level, noticed it. But you were like, you made a comment about it. And I was like, they are all just weirdly wearing.
Well, because I think like towards the end of it all, usually you end up with the big sword fight where he's just in his billowing shirt.
Well, it's also like every kind of like pirate or like at sea, like British Navy, like every movie starts out there in their full regalia and then they get stuck in the doldrums and then they run out of lemons and then they're like and so they're like increasingly just taking layers off to be more comfortable. And then by the time you get to the like big climax,
it's like the romance
it's like an
cover.
Errol Flynn thing too. So once you're at the end, you're just in the shirt so you can see a little chest hair.
And it just like took me out that Piggy went from that like leopard boa situation to the same shirt.
Yeah. No, because they got back together, and so obviously she's wearing one of his shirts.
That is a leap,
no,
ma'am.
But that's all there is on the boat.
They didn't even get on the boat.
But that's all that they have to offer her in the way of clothes. Is another shirt.
You're reaching.
I'm not reaching.
It's a signifier that she's one of them now.
Yeah. Also,
and not part of the island or the...
I'm not reaching. I like my theory.
I was going to say, because you're right, there is quite literally one female character in the story, and she's even gender swapped. Yeah. I know it's shocking, but in the original, it is not Benjamina Gunn. Isn't he like a crazy man who weirdly loves...
Benjamin? I don't know.
Ben Gunn, who weirdly loves cheese or something? I don't remember. I remember, even as a kid, wishing that big, fat, ugly, bug-faced, baby-eating O'Brien came back.
Big, fat, ugly, bug-faced, baby-eating O'Brien? Hi.
Yeah.
I don't know that it really... I'm a stickler for the rule of threes, and I don't know that it needed to be three. I think one more time she should have come back. In spite of sort of critiquing the pirate and the Treasure Island of it all, I do like a lot of the pirates that they bring in.
Yes, yeah.
Clueless Morgan, the goat, is, I think, my favorite. And I also do love Angel Marie, the really ugly one with the braids. I can't believe that this thing is rated G. This is so... that's not a thing that happens anymore. There aren't
No.
G-rated
No.
movies anymore. And this opens, as we mentioned, so hard with that
The Yo-Ho song.
and we even kind of compared it to like Frozen, the opening of Frozen.
Windy money in the ground, there's murder in the air. Murder in the air. One more time now. Shiver my timbers, shiver my
Yeah, the Frozen Heart part. Is it Shiver My Timbers?
Yeah, shiver my timbers, shiver my soul.
Yeah, it was like really intense, and it was like equally intense to the Frozen Heart from Frozen.
It's also it's interesting because this predates Pirates of the Caribbean.
The ride?
No,
Just
the
the
movie.
okay.
But it's like we had it's very Muppets where it's like they're kind of ahead of the curve, but also
Sure.
like on an island of their own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's like pirates came back into fashion in the 2000s,
Yeah.
and this was 1996. Like this feels like this would have been done in like 2006 as
Yeah.
a response to Pirates of the Caribbean.
Sure.
That's another thing is because I think this one does stick out a little bit like a sore thumb because I think people put Muppet Christmas Carol in its own because it's holiday, they put it in its own category.
And so it's not in there as an adaptation.
I think if there were a third, I think if in the 1999 they had done like King Arthur or something.
Oh my god.
I think it would have made it feel a little less odd
Yeah.
because the first trilogy would have been let's put on a show,
Uh-huh.
and the second trilogy would have been adaptations.
Sure.
Because there are entire groups of people who their concept of the Muppets is solely Muppet Christmas Carol. Like they don't know it exists outside of that.
Yeah.
And I think because even when I was young, liking this one, it always was odd to me. And so that's why I think if they had done a third, and then when you group it in with Christmas Carol,
Sure.
it makes it go down a little bit more.
Yeah.
Because this is very, very much like what is it, Rocky and Bullwinkle? Like, and now here's something you'll really
Yeah.
love. And it's like, what?
Ooh, Oliver Twist would have been a really good one.
I don't know that I want
no
two
more girls.
Dickens.
Well,
Oh,
Yeah. Tale of Two Cities, though, if we're
Yeah.
doing another Dickens.
so we can
Yeah.
cut off Kermit's head.
But other Kermit lives. I mean, real Kermit lives because other Kermit sacrificed himself.
So they could do it now with Constantine.
Oh, yeah.
It's all I want in the world now.
Call up Disney.
Oh my
Muppets Great
God.
Expectations. Muppets Dangerous Liaisons.
Oh, yeah. Yep. I want it.
Kermit and Piggy just like deliciously fucking with everybody's
Oh
lives.
my God.
Oh man, that would be funny. I wouldn't mind. Like, I don't know how they would never do it now that Disney.
Yeah.
I don't even want to, but that would be funny. Well, we had it. It was the 2015 Muppet Show. That
Mhm.
was like it was child
Friendly.
accessible.
Yeah.
Like children could watch it, but it was an adult show.
Yeah.
Like, and it was good in
It
spite
was
of what people
essentially
said.
just
and,
30 Rock, but with
Yeah,
Kermit
yeah.
as Liz Lemon.
and I mean, it took them a minute. I don't know. We're gonna cover it in some capacity,
Yeah.
so stay tuned because we're getting there. What did you think about the musical numbers?
Also not my favorite. I did really, really like the opening. And then after that, I was a little underwhelmed. I don't love little boy falsetto. So like that really wasn't my bag, baby. But the couple of the other ones later were pretty good.
I think Shiver My Timbers, Cabin Fever,
Yeah.
and weirdly the Love Let Us Hear. It's so silly.
Love let us Oh, Smalley, you saved me.
It's so silly, but it was fun. It was fun, silly.
But like the two other pirate songs sort of are like, well, we might as well do this.
Yeah.
That's the thing, though, is while every time they started a song, I was like, man, I love a shanty. Just a little sea shanty.
Yep.
But no, the three, because I think Cabin Fever, and this might be a large part of nostalgia, but I just think it's so weird and so funny.
Yeah.
And I like that it turns into like a hoedown and a tango. and
It's
then
a
like
lot of
Vegas
different
show.
things.
We have simply gone bananas.
I think the rat cruise is so funny, and I forgot or never really realized that it was a running.
I thought we were gonna have like one or two jokes and then it was gonna be over. I love that Rizzo was like, I love also that it was only the rats. Like he only sold this idea to rats.
Well, they put the rat in pirate.
Yeah, it's just funny. And then they are literally all having like drinks at the Copa
So they're like a proper peanut gallery, just sort of remarking on everything that's happening.
Well, it's like they're, Piggy or Kermie and Jim and Gonzo are all about to get like hung or whatever, and all the rats are literally, like I said, just having dinner at the Copa, and they're just like, ooh, dinner and a show.
Margaritas at the midnight buffet.
It's very, very silly.
And margaritas at the midnight buffet.
Margaritas at the midnight buffet.
It's that sort of like fourth wall breaking things, because they're on a cruise in the 90s.
Yeah.
And everyone else is properly in like the 1700s.
Yeah. Well,
this is my homage to the cruise.
I will say, I do not think they are on a cruise in the 90s. I think they are in Cuba in the 50s.
Yeah, right.
That's where the rats are. Mm-hmm. They are in Cuba in the 50s.
This has such a 90s charm to it. The sets, the combinations of sets and green screens, and I love it. It's so standard, but I love the weird forced perspective Dutch angle Muppet sets.
Yeah.
That you just know that people like, that the actors, like I'm jealous of the extras that they got to go play.
Yeah.
In this thing. And
it does sort of, they all, even though this is the one that like sort of most closely resembles what I'm about to say, they kind of all give me the Swiss Family Robinson treehouse at Disney World vibe. All the sets where it's like, I can go inside. Oh my God.
This is also one when Jim Henson died. For a long stretch, they had retired Rolf the dog, and Rolf was one of my favorites.
Oh, he is missing from this.
He's in the tavern.
He's in the tavern. He has a non-speaking cameo, and I like that they had retired Rolf the dog. It seems like a nice gesture. He was one of the first puppets.
They said it was because he most closely resembled Jim's actual personality, and so that's why. That's why like they didn't retire Kermit.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah. You couldn't. And they do sort of gradually unretire him. It starts like a little bit at a time.
I love Rolf the dog.
He's so good. It's just, because Rolf and Piggy are my favorites. And I think, and especially I like when they pair them together. I think it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Well, I said it out there and I'll say it again in here. And I think I've said it in every single episode we've done. But like, I do not mind being a basic bitch about the Muppets.
But, I don't think that if it's anything, it's basic, but I don't think it's that basic. I think that there's meat on Kermit's bones.
I think so too.
Enough to open a frog legs.
That's a mean thing to say.
Frog leg fast food joint offers.
Well, it's like there's that sound on TikTok now that's those two like Italian, the ones that were having the argument about the sandwich, but they have a like, what's your favorite Pop-Tart?
Oh, yeah,
and the guy is like, well, okay, strawberry. And he's like, that's such a basic bitch answer. And he goes, okay, you want to know what it really is? What my favorite really is? It's the Spider-Man tie-in flavor of Pop-Tarts from like 2003 or something. And so that's kind of where it's like, this is the strawberry Pop-Tart. Like, this is my favorite Pop-Tart, but I love Janice.
The Electric Mayhem aren't really in this one.
They
are a couple, yeah.
Because this pirate ship has a full band.
Well, and they're like, and we don't even know what side we're on. Just play the gig, man.
She's back there playing her little bass.
Mm-hmm.
No, I think Kermit, I think he does have a personality. And I think it's largely the Steve Whitmire, he's good and he's kind and he's all of these things, these signifiers that could lead to like a sap or a pushover or like negative things. But it doesn't. He's brave and I don't know. I feel
like he's the OG millennial, where he's just like just riddled with feelings, but then like trying to make the best of the situation and it's being really upset.
I feel that.
Yeah.
But it's like, but I like that even with his John Everyman quality and his like hero leader of the pack quality, there are still things like his on-again, off-again romance with Miss Piggy, which the two of us feel very strongly about. And she thinks Piggy's a bitch and a villain.
I
Direct quote.
absolutely do not think Piggy is a bitch and a villain. I think that they both do bad relationship things. And I think she lets Piggy off the hook a little too easy.
Kermit breadcrumbs her. He is always dumping her.
And love
he
bombs.
gets her. Yes, he gets her to the altar, and then nopes out of there. He gets her hopes up every single time, and then he is the one that decides to come back to her and shows up when she's living her best life.
Okay, but like, when's Piggy gonna learn?
Well, that's the thing, because the cycle perpetuates.
That's what this movie's about.
Yes, the cycle perpetuates. And well, in the
Piggy got around a little in this movie. Get it, girl?
love to see it.
Get
we
it,
all
Piggy.
need a slut phase.
Of course,
I love it.
Yeah.
But no, it was 2015, the big one.
2011.
Yeah. So because she really was like, I don't want to fucking do this anymore.
Yeah.
You do this every single time, but then he was just like, okay, fine, I'll just give up. And she's like, well, fuck. And then the cycle continues. So I actually, because of that, when I actually started to really think about it, it really detracted from Kermit for me, because it's like, I feel like it's all an act, and it just feels very put on.
I think it's a little retconny in a way that I like. Because
Well, it also, in my opinion, goes to the whole theater troupe thing, where it's like they feel like summer boyfriend and girlfriend.
Yeah, well, it's like the two leads
Yeah.
always are like, they'll be doing this tete-a-tete for until they'll die.
because I don't know that it's sustainable.
No. As a real relationship, no.
Well, Piggy is overbearing, but the thing about Piggy
It's
is
because he doesn't give her enough.
No, Piggy is overbearing as a character,
No.
not just in the relationship.
If you can't handle Piggy at her worst, you can't handle Piggy at her best.
But but here's my thing. Piggy, there are negative things you could say about her, but at no point is she hiding or denying them. She is very, like, you know what you're getting with her.
Yeah.
And
Very Cordelia Chase.
Kermit keeps entering into this with all the information and then acting like he was somehow tricked or betrayed.
Yeah. Oh, this is all just feeling a little too much. Since when, my guy?
Here's the thing.
The boa and the gloves.
Yeah.
Didn't
She really
tell you.
should have tipped you
I
off.
feel like, so when we talked about like me being like looking high maintenance or whatever, and then actually being a trash person on the inside.
That is not what I said.
I said it. But
Panda.
no, absolutely, trash panda. But it's like, I do that, so like you get like the biggest part right when you meet me, and then it's just like the fun little like sweet center where you're just like, oh, you're actually very approachable.
Yeah.
See, again, Piggy taught me everything.
Here's the thing, too. I think in one of our first ones, I did call Piggy and Kermit a love for the ages. That being said, their romantic relationship is totally outside of all the reasons why I love both of the characters. It's not a part of why, because you said it detracts from Kermit for you. The reasons why I love Kermit have like less than zero to do with.
So what I was getting at when I was saying that it feels a little bit retconny in a way that I like is it's like these are characters that were established in the 70s.
Yeah.
Under social understanding, social norms, entertainment tropes and stuff. Like they were established a certain way. And so I think this new sort of postmodern look at their relationship, it's not so much that I don't think that they changed anything. I think it's evolving it for a modern audience.
Sure. I'll give you that.
And I think that you can retroactively lay it on the past.
I don't know that these movies should be held to what the 2011 has done for their
Jason
relationship.
Segel comes out and straight says it in a way that kind of blew my socks off. I was like, oh man, wow. But I do have fun, and I mean, I think that this is part of it. I mean, I realize that we're going very philosophical about Muppet Treasure Island, but it's like,
I don't have that much more to say about the plot, so this is fine.
But I feel like it's on brand for the Muppets anyway.
Well, and I think that's part of the timeless quality that they appeal to children and adults, and also apparently through time.
Yeah.
And I think that that's interesting. And that's another place where I think doing the Christmas Carol, doing Treasure Island, and, you know, because the next one is Muppets from Space. I remember liking it. I am the most nervous to revisit it because I think it's a lot of 1999 jokes.
Okay.
Like, I think it's as I recall, it's sort of like when you watch the first Austin Powers and it's a proper spoof of James Bond. But then you watch the second Austin Powers and it's like, remember this topical joke? And here's a Jerry Springer segment.
Yeah.
And like, so I think, as I recall, Muppets from Space is that. But I'm excited to revisit it next year and see if there's any actual anything of value.
Sure.
But as I was saying, I think that's one of the things that helps these, because there are a few topical jokes in Treasure Island.
Yeah, but at this point, 1996 topical is just universal.
Well, and I don't think any of them are like for instance, Hercules has like the Air Jordans. It's like that's not a thing. Like that doesn't.
Yeah. Well, they still exist, but it's not like
the pump up
to the point that it was. Yeah.
I had a couple other. I really enjoyed Old Tom, really Old Tom, and Dead Tom. We got a lot of mileage out as kids out of Dead Tom's dead. Long John shot him.
Dead Tom's dead. Long John shot him.
But Dead Tom's always been dead. That's why he's called Dead Tom.
Oh.
Can we get on with this? Get out of here, will you?
A handful of the performances I really love, especially that. I love the way that he turns to J'accuse and then turns back. I also think Piggy is a little bit, some of her reactions, some of her physical acting.
Yeah.
And this is very funny and a little bit more than some of the others. And I do love when these movies, it's the, what I call the, it thinks it's people.
Yeah.
Because there's a part where this movie, there's 2 or 3 parts where it's shot like an actual drama or action adventure. Because there's one where the pirates grab Kermit and they like yank him, and the camera like pans quickly to Piggy, and she's like, "No!"
Yeah.
And it's just, there's so many of these little moments that I think are so funny, so interesting.
I also loved Billy Connolly at the beginning.
Billy Bones.
Yeah.
Jimmy Jim.
I'm not Jimmy Jim.
He also apparently was the first person to die in a Muppet movie.
Yeah.
And Billy Connolly really liked that. Like as a bragging point.
That woman, the like mistress of the house, she was real ride or die.
It's Jennifer Saunders.
No, is it?
Yeah, Mrs. Blueveridge. Yeah, Jennifer Saunders.
Oh, I know Jennifer Saunders, and I never realized
she doesn't
that.
look like herself in all that weird makeup.
I just wrote down from when Gonzo has his limbs stretched out and he's tickling
He is like really weird in this movie. Like he is on his kink shit.
Really, he's on his kink shit all the time.
This movie especially though, I feel like he is on Molly the whole time.
Because that's not a thing that you say when you're tickling somebody. And the fact that watching with the credits and or the captions and it just says poodly, poodly, poodly. And I do love, I think they could have done a little bit more with Piggy's anteater, Flaubert.
Flaubert.
Actually, because Miss Piggy, what is she in 10 minutes of this movie?
She's really
very
not
much,
in a lot.
It's also, it was like weirdly, I think the first time that they had like sort of sidelined Kermit as well. It's like half an hour till he even shows up.
Yeah, and I think that is sort of one of my critiques or negative criticisms. I think we spend a lot of time not with our classic Muppets.
Yeah.
I find Fozzie very funny in this one. I think it's the wig and the hat.
Yeah.
I don't understand Bobo.
No.
Mr. Bimbo.
Mr. Bimbo. Bobo the bear. Mr. Bimbo, who listens finger. I don't know why. That checks for me for Fozzie, kind of. I don't know why it's in Treasure Island.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'll give you that.
Like, if it were Muppets from Space, I think I would be fine with that.
I think it would read better if that was like kind of a constant. If that was just kind of like a bit that Fozzie did.
If he did it in every.
all of them. Yeah. But this, like, because he's just a dimwit and everything. But so, like, why are you making him extra dumb?
It's very 90s abstract. Like, the voices in my head.
Yeah.
In a way that I'm sort of like, I don't know how I feel about that one.
Yeah.
But, no, I like that you pointed that out about Sam the Eagle. That's fun. I like him in this one. I also wrote down, Smalley, he marooned me.
Yeah. I love that because they say marooned a lot. Every single time the like double O gets like harder. Marooned.
You know, all in all, like I said, from the nostalgia factor, I think it's great.
Yeah.
I think if you're just coming upon this one, I think it's fine. I don't know that it would really be anybody's favorite unless they had a specific reason. But I do maintain that I think the opening song and the Cabin Fever, I think, are really very good.
I agree.
That's mostly it. I kind of want to go a little bit more, but I would just be sort of elaborating on stuff we had already touched on. So yeah, all in all, a lot of fun, and I just kind of want more. You don't want to. Muppets don't do oversaturation well, but also
We could do more Muppets.
just
A hair.
like, kind of like they're definitely not an every year thing. Maybe like in every 5 or 6 years we get a Muppet movie. That feels.
What about like 3?
Yeah, I feel better about 3.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think 3.
3.5.
Also, I mean, leave Disney because Disney doesn't know what to do with them. And I know
Yeah.
they can't, but it's like not. The Haunted Mansion that they did last year
It was cute.
was
Yeah.
cute, but even that it was just barely cresting.
Yeah.
And I think
I feel like they've almost creatively circumcised them because it's like
That's a word to choose.
And I chose it on purpose. But because it's just they don't have the
everything's green screens. They're just in front of green screens.
yeah.
now.
Well, it doesn't feel as like delightfully macabre because it like they talk about dark shit. Like this
Jim
movie,
Henson's
there was
always
like
had an edge.
right, exactly. And so I mean, like they
They're
talk
talking
about
the
death.
fiery pits of hell.
Yeah, they talk about death a lot in this movie, and we see like hanging skeletons and just like dead people left and right. And so Disney won't have that, and it just is a
I think
bummer.
Disney thinks they're for kids.
Yeah, and they're
no.
they're for us.
I mean, it
Again, it's like you said
is-
earlier, it should be accessible to kids, but it shouldn't be for kids because they never have been. Like Sesame Street is for kids, and you can keep that, but like The Muppets is for adults.
I just remember like watching these movies when I was little, feeling special because my parents would still watch it too. And they would laugh at things. And then I'm like, oh, but see, I'm special because I can laugh at this too.
Yeah.
And they think I'm grown up enough to watch this, even though we're watching, pigs and frogs and chickens and whatever.
Yeah.
So, okay. Well, let us know what you think. And let us know your favorite Muppet character movie. And also keep in mind that we'll be back next year with Muppets in Space. And then the Muppets and the Muppets Most Wanted. So, hope you had fun and like and subscribe. Thumbs up does the best for us. We have a website, soimwatching.com, that you can check that links out to everything, Instagram and Twitter and all of that. We have a Cashapp and a Venmo if you want to keep us in lights because these suckers
Light
burn
bulbs.
out every other day and they're not at cheap. And yeah, hopefully you had a nice Thanksgiving and happy holidays and bye.